it to be on cocaine, to be on this podcast? Cocaine. Cocaine, really? Cocaine. Cocaine, really?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my trusty partners, sidekicks, co-hosts, the good chef Andre Napier and Fireball Matt Marchesini. And tonight, we're going to be doing some hoops chatter. This is 25 minutes before K-State men tip off at Arizona State. So this could age either very poorly or very well. We don't know. But before we get into the episode, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Annie Mae's Parlor. And this Stubby Coors Banquet twist off is brought to you by Annie Mae's, located at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville in Manhattan, Kansas. Annie Mae's has been in business for 50 plus years and is an absolute must-visit destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. Fireball Matt's going to be there later this week. So if you see him, say hi. Be sure to tell the bartenders there that Cocaine Willie sent you. And there's a ton of different events. We shared them on the last pod. We will not share them again because we already went through that whole ad read. So listen, if you want to hear what's going on there, go to www.anniemays.com or listen to our football schedule announcement podcast that we dropped earlier this week. Again, they feature a wide variety of craft cocktails, draft beers, and everything in between. And the entertainment, they've got live music, comedy, anything, you name it, bingo night. They've got jazz night. They've got everything. So check out the website, anniemays.com, and be sure to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you. Gentlemen, so the men's team is coming off of a 3-game win streak. They are playing Arizona State tonight. Bobby Hurley had a conniption after the Arizona game, and their best player headbutted Caleb Love on the court. It was one of the most wild things I've ever witnessed. But according to all the advanced metrics, advanced stats, all the other podcasts out there talking about how K-State's currently playing like the number one team in the country over this 3-game stretch, which very, very small sample size. Let's call a spade a spade. It is a very, very small sample size. And I love that K-State's playing this way. I do. It's been a really fun brand of basketball to watch. I hope it continues. But guys, this is a 3-game stretch. It's a very, very small sample size. I would happily eat some crow if we can keep this up and make a run in the tournament, or not even make a run in the tournament, but make a run to win 10 games in conference play. That would be great. Because if you can do that, then you win a game or two in Kansas City, and then you're on the bubble all of a sudden. But this is a very, very small sample size. I cannot reiterate that enough. We can talk about all the advanced metrics and stats and Ken Palm and Bart Torvik and all these mamma jammas and whatever. But it's been a good stretch. I do want to shout out the highlights and talk about some of the positives. So I'll throw it to the two of you to get your thoughts and your takeaways on a great stretch of basketball through 3 games against West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and then on the road with kind of the capstone of that stretch at Iowa State.
The positivity is just absolutely.
You haven't seen it yet, brother.
Bursting from the seams.
You haven't seen
that. It is very clear that the last 3 games have been out of the ordinary. Compared to what we've seen from this team thus far. And you can probably also put in there, the strong effort in Lawrence, the strong effort in Waco as improvement from what we had seen. I am not as high on this team even after Saturday as most people. I don't believe this team is at the level to where they can go on a streak of just like winning 2 games on the road in a row and, winning 2 top 25 games at home in a row, like the potential with KU and Arizona coming to town. I don't think we're going to beat Arizona State tonight. There's a lot of things that I'm thinking about with this game. One, I mean, Arizona State, they gave their all against Arizona in that game. I feel like they have a lot to prove at home. Us, this is kind of a trap game in the grand scheme of things. You're coming off a huge win on the road, and now you are going to go on the road for this game before you play your in-state rival on Saturday. That you've beaten how many straight years? 3 straight years? 2 straight years. So I'm not as high on this team like going on a streak. Could they finish the last 10 games 6-4? I could see it because the schedule is favorable when you look at it. Because you get to you'll play Arizona State at home again. You play Colorado. Do I think this team could go 6-4? The last 10, I could see that, and yes, that would be an improvement.
And what does that get you at final record wise? 10-10.
Yeah, but the way the non-conference went, 10-10 is not even. You're not even going to be in a conversation like some people are saying. Oh, you go 8-2, you could be a bubble team. Which but they go 8-2, they could be a bubble team.
Yeah, but 6-4 changes some things with the Big 12 tournament. So, yes. I mean, that does facilitate a better chance of, maybe winning a game.
Because you only probably have to win 4 games because you get a bye for the first day if you go 10-10. I get that. It's evident this team looks better just on all facets of playing the game of basketball. I think we just see it from the offensive side, and it probably just, for me, makes it more frustrating of some of the games early on in non-conference play, and even in the beginning of the Big 12 season, where if you could have just had a small percentage increase in like your offense doing its job, you would have won a few more games. But Doug McDaniel's been really great. I mean, we're not hearing a lot of people talking about Coleman Hawkins not deserving his NIL money. When the grand scheme of things, he's looked like the best player on the floor during this stretch and for a good portion of our games this season. And Brendan Hawson has looked a lot better on the defensive side, which puts you in a position where you can play him more effectively on offense. And we've seen he's been able to make some big shots. So I don't think we're going to win tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I do think we're going to win on Saturday, which is very funny in the grand scheme of things. But I think this team plays really well at home, especially against ranked teams. We've seen that. KU has not played very well on the road. I think the worlds are going to collide and we'll win on Saturday. But I don't know. This team is just weird.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, that's what we're talking. And Matt has very good points. But to me, this team over the last 3 weeks, 3 weeks realistically, but the last 3 games have made me, they've showed me things that I just didn't think they would be able to pull out. And for that, I have Crow right here. I will eat it. Because they deserve it. You know what I'm saying? They deserve to have me eat Crow. I didn't think they would be able to pull off any of it. They're totally 180 for this team. Just total 180. Doug McDaniels, like you said, I mean, he makes me want him to be on the team next year. I don't know if I could have said that 3 weeks ago. I don't know if I possibly could have. He wasn't even playing 5 minutes in some of those games.
I think it's imperative he's on the team next year. I mean, it's gotten to that point now where with how he's kind of grown, like if he continues to grow this season, he's a guy that
not just that. You only have 8 guys that you can even return, and 3 of those are Buddy Rich, Taj Manning, and it's do you even want to keep those guys around anyway? So you're at best maybe bringing back only 5 or 6. So if
But
you're
that's
trying to
what
go after this Houston model, you have to lean in on the Doug McDaniels of the world to try to get those guys to come back. So it's good that he's had this effort and this kind of 180 that you're talking about, Chef.
That's what I'm saying. And like if like you said, if they want that model, they're gonna have to get these guys to buy in and keep the same pace so they know what to build on, because you saw what's behind Doug McDaniel, and that's David Castillo. And I mean, he is just not ready yet. I mean, maybe down the road he could be one of those guys that can contribute in his second year. But right now you were kind of having to lean on Doug McDaniels being the future of this program, because you don't want to have to go in. And that's what I was saying with Jerome Tang. Can we do another year of a total rebuild? Because he's proven that he just can't do it. And it just doesn't work the way that he wants to do it. So maybe this way, with the progression that we're seeing from Doug, Brendan Hassan on the defense, and some of CJ Jones, even guys like that, where they're a little bit too much leaned on, and that they're pivotal parts of this team. But if you lower them on the depth chart where they're not necessarily essential, but they have growth in the program where they can be leaders, they can show the ropes to people that obviously we're going to need new guys next year. But if the core of your team has seen and have had growth, I think that bodes well for next year, because that's really what we're playing for, unless some miracle, and it starts tonight, some miracle happens.
I mean, thinking about next year really quick, and a guy who there's a slight potential that we could have a guy like Max Jones back for another year as well. There was a lawsuit that was filed today regarding D2 seasons, basically like a Diego Pavia type lawsuit by a baseball player at Maryland today. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but with how things have gone with, some of the lawsuits and whatnot, he has also been a guy who has been absolutely huge in being kind of the rock of the team, along with Coleman Hawkins. And it's the effort. It's just the complete effort that he brings out on the floor for all the minutes that he plays is Max Jones. I know, and I remember, people were talking about bringing him in. You don't know what to expect from a guy from Cal State Fullerton who's coming from D2, making the step up. We had no idea what his playing time was going to be like until we heard, prior to the season and, and workouts and whatnot. Max Jones is a guy, that has been looking really good. And he truly has. He's been in a very important, almost kind of like, I don't think I can compare him to Desi Sills anymore. He's been like Mark Smith in that last year that Bruce Weber had Mark Smith.
I like that comp. I like that comp.
That's a way better comp.
Yeah, because I've heard Desi on a few different places, and I think that's a much better.
Statistically, they're basically the same, but I just think Mark Smith is a very good comp.
Mark Smith was style of play from a leadership perspective, just out on the floor, just shows just an incredulous amount of effort out there. It would be, it's obviously not likely, but with how things are going, I mean, he could be a guy that could potentially have another season next year too. But we're playing for 2025, 26. And I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Yeah.
So I just as long as they continue to show effort in games, I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
They were just not showing effort in games. And as a fan, and a supporter of the team, if they're not showing a want to be out on the floor, I'm not going to show a wants to be turning on ESPN Plus to be watching you down by 20 points at Oklahoma State. Like the past 3 games, and then you include the Baylor game and the KU game, the effort was there. And so it's been good to see that a page has been turned, and improvement has been made.
I think a lot of that can be attributed to the players, but I think it's it can't be overlooked how this coaching staff has kind of evolved. Jerome Tank in-game coaching has been a lot better in terms of stopping. I heard that on a caption from the people that were calling the game, how he credited Jerome Tank for using timeouts to stop runs. I mean, how long have I been begging for Jerome to finally use some timeouts and finally do some in-game coaching? And he went with the lineups that are working. He's using Moby Ike Garuka in a lot of ways that we've been begging for people with energy to be used in the paint, to foul, to get these easy baskets, and to hustle. The coaching staff has taken a step forward in terms of in-game, the setups for these games. The scouts have been really good with the pressures and all the different looks of the offense looking different, the defense using the pressures and the double teams in perfectly timed situations. I'm giving a little bit of credit to the coaching staff in that way too for this turnaround.
Yeah, the only crow that I feel like I can eat right now is I really dogged on this coaching staff to start conference play, and I think it was deserved at the time, 1,000%. But it's maybe not necessarily indicative of, he's just a roll the ball out there type of coach. He's clearly made adjustments in game, and he's clearly done a lot in that locker room, which I don't know how much of that can you credit to Scott Drew at this point, as opposed to Coach Tang. But at the same token, Scott Drew's, he and Tang, they're blood brothers, whatever they call each other. So that's a whole thing. But you've got a really tough stretch here. Arizona State is not going to be an easy matchup at Arizona State in Tempe necessarily. But you've got KU and then Arizona at home back-to-back. It's 2 top 25 teams. Arizona had a really tough non-conference stretch where they didn't look great. And then they start off conference play undefeated through most of the first 6 or 7 games. And then they dropped a couple there, but they're number 20 in the country. KU has dropped a couple of games with them, fought back against Iowa State, won that game last night. Didn't fight back in the game against Iowa State, but did fight back after their losses that they'd had recently to beat Iowa State in Allen Fieldhouse last night. So it's going to be interesting. And then you got at BYU, which we lost that game last year. That was a tough game that we dropped last year. So it's not going to be easy through this next 5 games or so, but we're definitely going to have our eyes on it. And it's been better. I think to reiterate Matt's point, the effort has been there. It's been better. It's been a lot easier to watch this team and have fun with it when it seems like they're actually putting in effort. It's more reminiscent to the team that Mark Smith was on, which wasn't a great team, but they put in effort and they gave their all game in and game out. And it didn't matter necessarily that they were losing those games. It was just a better product given that they were putting in effort. They cared. They showed that they cared, which we're seeing on the defensive end. And we're seeing that a lot more with guys like Brendan Hausen, which maybe he did go to the Will Spradling School of Defensive Effort or something in the past 2 weeks, because it's night and day different. Some of the stuff he was doing, pickpocketing guys in that Iowa State game was really fun to watch. All right, pivoting over to the women's team. We've got a couple minutes left here. Again, team success was a big question that we had going into this stretch of games with Yoki's injury, because we all knew Colorado, we had that game circled when we first came into this season. It was a game we were all looking forward to and thought, hey, this is going to be a tough matchup. Granted, they haven't quite played to the expectations, but K-State does drop that game against Colorado, which, I think a big part of that might have been the women's team just not necessarily knowing how to handle not having Yoki in an entire game. In the game plan, and not being able to have her as a backstop to rely on if things went sideways, like you did earlier in the season when in some of those games where maybe she didn't play as much. But they bounce back. They get a couple of wins. They beat that Iowa State team in the game that we were watching along with last week. But you've got probably the biggest matchup of the season, bar none, against TCU tomorrow night. As we're recording this is Tuesday. So that game's tomorrow night, Wednesday. They've got Sedona Prince, who is a good big, a great big, you could say. She has her issues off the court that I won't get into, but definitely give it a Google. It's an interesting situation. But I hope Bramlage, I think, is sold out too as we're recording this. It sounds like it's sold out or close to sold out.
Close to sold out.
So it's going to be a rocking environment. I hope the students are yelling all sorts of mean things at Sedona Prince. Again, just give it a quick Google. Look at the
Lock
news.
her up. Lock her up.
See what's up with that situation. There's some TikTok videos I would encourage you to watch. But you've got a tough stretch here with TCU, and then you're turning right around after that matchup and playing an Oklahoma State team that beat TCU earlier this season, and you're playing on the road in Stillwater for that matchup. They're a top 25 team, 25th in the country right now. So thoughts on this stretch coming out of that Iowa State game and taking care of business the way they did in the Sunflower Showdown on Sunday against KU and heading into this murderer's row of 2 games of TCU and Okie State.
Well, what a week. As a K-State basketball fan, men's and women's. I mean, the Iowa State game was just a battle. Obviously, we had the watch around for that and it went into overtime. That's the type of game that is going to prepare you for the Big 12 tournament, the NCAA tournament. Being in a situation where a lot of ups and downs in that game. Biggest down is giving up a 7-0 run with 1:30 left, to have Iowa State, bring that to overtime. But those are the type of games that prepare you for the ones like this TCU game Wednesday night. TCU is an excellent team. They obviously have star power. Everybody knows Hailey Van Lith, just from her time at LSU and
bronze medal winner.
Yeah, and in the Olympics, excuse me. This is going to be a really big battle for our team. Sedona Prince is somebody that you're going to have to definitely game plan against, similarly to what we saw, for Iowa State and Audie Crooks. They're not necessarily the same type of player, but they have that presence inside that, is going to be a tough battle for our bigs to try and contain. The important thing and the thing that I'm very excited, I'm going up to Manhattan for the game tomorrow, is how the crowd can impact and influence a game like this. This is going to be an overwhelming environment for not just TCU, but our team as well. I mean, this is a huge game, the biggest game basically of the season for Big 12 play. And K-State's going to be amped up for this. They're going to come out and they're going to see, 9,000, 10,000, maybe even more people in this arena for this game. So it's going to be important to keep your emotions in check, at the beginning, and try and get TCU off their guard a little bit. They're going to have to, K-State's going to have to make some shots. They've been very good on the offensive end these past 2 games. Obviously the KU game in Lawrence, they shot so well. They're going to have to really continue that mindset of, getting some open opportunities and connecting with those. And then just continuing to play strong defense. TCU is going to be a team that is going to, there's a reason why they're up there. It's because they're very strong on the offensive side. So I'm extremely excited for this game. I think our ladies have really put in an incredible effort this season. The Colorado game notwithstanding, I'm not surprised that we dropped a game. But this is the one you've had circled since you've known TCU has been in the top 25. So gotta do it.
Absolutely. I think the thing about it is like you said, with the home environment, I don't know if necessarily TCU they've played some really good teams. They've played, top 5 teams on their schedule with South Carolina. That was all in the Cayman Islands. But in terms of going on the road and experience a team that is equivalent to them with a backing of a full gym, I don't know if they've necessarily gone through those environments. So I think K-State really needs to lean on that, maybe shorten these possessions and keep it close for a while. And so until the crowd can really get behind you and make those runs. I think this game is going to be a lot about runs and who can control the basketball, turn the other team over, and really, stretch it out. Get that gap goat really working in your favor to the point where you can, if the crowd is on your side for a long stretch of times, you can bury teams really, really fast. So you want to control that ball, limit the turnovers, and really, really pounce on them when you get a chance and go on some long runs. So I'm looking forward to this one. Sundell, she's going to have a big one. She's
Yeah,
gonna have
and
a big one.
I think the other thing is similar to what we were saying before the Iowa State game. We all knew Audie Crooks was going to get hers. You need to have Eliza Maupin, Amani Lester, Kennedy Taylor. They have to step up and try to stop the bleeding when it comes to getting some of those points in the post. That Prince is going to get hers. She's going to have a big game just by the nature of the matchup and how it's going to work. You just need to try to do whatever you can. And Chef, to your point, being able to get some of those gap goats, trying to do as much as you can on the defensive side, even outside of the post, try to get steals, try to get some of those points off of turnovers and takeaways, fast breaks, all that good stuff, to try to stop the bleeding that might be happening on the offensive side of the court for TCU. And you need someone like Terrence Eyes to step up again. She's been lighting it up from three. Dude, she's had a great couple of games here. So I would love to see her step up to the plate again in the fashion that she has the last couple of games to really put it to the Horned Frogs there. But I think we're going to get out of here. That's going to do it for us tonight. Any final words, guys, before we get out of here?
I got a final word. I got a note. Dear Chef, happy National Thank a Mail Carrier Day. I figured this was the perfect excuse to finally say what I should have said long ago. Thank you for braving crazy weather, avoiding territorial squirrels, and delivering my questionable online purchases without judgment. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed, and I truly appreciate all that you do. Hope you have a fantastic and hopefully dog-free day.
Man, what a
amazing.
Wow. I'm a little choked up. I'm not going to lie. That one struck a chord. I thought you were going to bring up Black History Month as well, but you didn't. Everything's fine, though. I appreciate the sentiment. I love you, Matt, for that. That's beautiful. But, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is just a double dip. This is a double dip for you, Chef. I wish you the best Black History Month and the best Thank a Mail Carrier Day that I just hope it's the best you've ever had. And that's with that. I can't surpass that. Shout out to Annie Mays. Look at anniemays.com for a full list of their upcoming events. Say hi to Matt when he's there later this week. And we are the K-State representative on the College Huddle, the largest community of fan-driven content in the nation. Check them out at thecollegehuddle.com and follow them on social media at College Huddle. And last but not least, you can follow the show at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram, or Blue Sky, and follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all coke and no joke, and thank your mail carrier, Wildcat
Thank
Country.
your mail carrier.
Let's ride.
Let's
That's right, baby.